All right, guys, welcome to Submission Radio Morning After. I am coming from my mum's living room right here. My internet died. I've got her dog here. Her dog will not move away from me.
I thought it was a stuffed animal.
Yeah, I was
It's
about to
just,
say,
you think
the
it's a
internet
stuffed
died, the
animal.
dog looked like it's dead too.
Yeah.
And it's all happening, guys. Drove over 6 a.m., 1.5 hours, but it's worth it because I have the guest of a lifetime. The first guest joining me here today. He's kind enough to join us so quickly after making his debut recently, just this past week. He's killing it in the podcast game. Obviously, one of the best guys to do it. It's former Strikeforce champion, Josh Thomson. Huh?
Crowd goes wild. What's up? What's up?
Good words.
Having me
Again. Great to have you on the show, my friend. And also fresh off a 6:30 a.m. flight from Bourbon Street. This next man defies all gravity when it comes to the morning after. Ladies, take your pill. Oscar Willis is here.
Yeah. Oh, the Mac life, living the Mac life.
Looking so fresh, you know. Straight from the unit, straight to Bourbon Street, straight to the airport. Yeah, it's great. What a life.
I love it. I love it. Hey,
I've had
fellas.
many of those rough nights, man. Many of those rough nights. I mean, a couple of my fights in the UFC, I literally just didn't even bother, stay in the hotel that night. Just fucking packed up all my shit, put it at the concierge. Was out. I was headed to the airport by 4 a.m. Caught the 5:10 or 5:50 flight and was out of there back home in my own bed by like 7:40.
I think my big mistake was I did New Zealand, Nashville, New Orleans back to back, and those are three places that can get you really fucked up. So I don't think I'll do that again. I think it's one at a time per month, maybe. 3 back to back was, yeah.
Josh, you didn't see this, but on Oscar's story, I wish I could bring it up, but it's gone now. Craig Jones, I think, dropped him off at the fights in like some old school car, like to the gate the morning of. So you know the guy.
Yeah.
The guy hasn't slept in a while. All right, let's talk about the big fights because UFC 318 just happened this past weekend. I want to bring you guys to a little video from our friend from Mike Bond. He had a little video of Dustin walking out of the cage, and as he was coming out,
it was a good fight. We'll talk about it later. I thought so too.
Dustin believing that it was closer than what the judges had it scored as he was coming out there. I got to ask you guys, just from the get-go, just as we kick things off, was this fight closer than what the judges had it, or was this really a Max Holloway win here? Like, Oscar, how did you feel about this fight when you broke it down live?
Well, so I got to watch it from the cage side, right? So it felt
nice little fuss right there, by the way.
Yeah, there are certain fights where it's like it feels close because Dustin could potentially land a big shot and end it at any time, right? So it always feels tense, maybe is the right word. But I think if you break it down round by round in the scoring, you would have to say Max won, maybe not comfortably, but certainly I think won clearly, right? But it did feel close in the moment. And the 5th round was really funny as well because you knew with 10 seconds left, they were going to do it. And I was like, man, Dustin has enough power, dropped him earlier. So it always felt close. I did find it funny that Dustin was so pissed off. Like when they were playing his video package, I was just watching his face and he was just sitting there just furious that he'd like the judges. So he's curious where his competitive energy is going to go now he's retired, but it felt close. But I think it felt close as a fight, maybe not as a scoring criteria. It would be how I'd put it.
Yeah, I just want to know from you, man, just before you go on that as well, like, what did you think of Holloway's ability to change things up with his kicks, right? The start of the fight, he threw like 1 billion kicks. It threw Dustin off because Dustin was expecting a boxing sort of battle in the pocket, and Holloway kept him a distance with those kicks, kind of threw him off rhythm. And by the time Dustin got into it, I mean, Holloway was able to get momentum. He was able to have a lot of success. What did you think about this game plan that Holloway had? Because a lot of us were like wondering what he was going to look like after this loss to Ilya Topuria after being knocked out. And man, he looked freaking great. He looked amazing.
We talked about that the other day, is that he looks better at 55. And I think the weight cut had definitely had some effects on him.
Yeah, no, I mean, certainly when he dropped Dustin in the first round, I was like, fuck, he can crack at 55. Like he has a whole new element to his game with the strength. Obviously, the orthodox southpaw thing, like kicking to the body. And it was one of the first times I've actually seen it in a very long time. At least there was one he landed in like the 4th round. Dustin literally went, like that. Like I heard him scream ouch. And, so they were adding up. I don't think Dustin wanted to admit how badly he was hurt at the press conference afterwards. But yeah, I thought Max played a great one. And I think also in a way, not that he's lacking any confidence, but it's not a bad thing to see him get rocked, because then okay, his chin's still there, like he can recover and stuff like that. So I thought for Max, it was probably about a picture perfect performance as you can get.
Josh, you had him flattened out at one point, Dustin, right? I think it was in the second round, and it looked like he might actually finish him. Like, what were you thinking in that moment as you were watching the fight?
I think that was the end of the first round, about 3 or 4 minutes into the first round. It was, I think it was like 3:40 of the first round. He dropped Dustin. Dustin sat back, and he was able to land 1 or 2 shots on the follow-up. What did I think about it? I was like, I would hate to see him go out like that. You know, I'm a huge Dustin Poirier fan. Like, he's one of my all-time favorite fighters. I've been able to train with him and work with him, and you know, a long time ago, years ago. But like, just following his career. Unfortunately, like, most of his fights have been against some of my closest teammates, you know, Habib and Islam. And so, I mean, I'm sure he probably doesn't feel like I've been a fan of his, but he's one of my all-time favorite fighters to watch. Ultimately, though, like, it really, like, to talk about the scorecards, I really thought it was a close fight. Yeah, but when you come down to the scoring system of a 10-9, you have to give someone that round, and the rounds were so close, but Max was edging him just a little bit. I gave him the second round, and the 5th round was kind of a toss, you know, wherever it was. But in rounds 1 and 2, he definitely lost those rounds. Yeah. So I guess when you give him, you know, when you're talking about, you know, like what to do with him, I thought, the second round, I gave him the second round because he dropped him at the end and weathered the storm. I had this long debate with Big John last night about.
Yeah, you gave him the second round. Yeah, that's a tricky round to give, right?
It is, because he got dropped early in the round, but then he drops Max at the end of the second round. So, and he also jumped Gilly on that. And I mean, I was obviously a little bit biased on that because I put a lot of money down on him winning by submission. I mean, the odds were ridiculous. It was like a plus 4,000, plus 5,000 as it went up. And if I would have won, literally, for him to win by submission, it was like plus 1,300. And then if I picked the round, which I bet $100 in every single round for him to win by Gilly, and if he won that, it was like a plus 5,000, and it went up 6,000. Then it jumped to 8,000, like a plus 8,000 in rounds 4 and 5. So I was like, if he gets it in round 2, it's over. This is it. I would have won $5,500 off a $100 bet. Hell yeah. So I was chomping at the bit. I was hoping. I was like, how poetic would that have been though for him to win by jumping Gilly in his last fight? But I had him win in the second. I had this argument with Big John. Let me ask you guys this though: so a fighter wins, or you know, Max wins the first part of that round. Mm-hmm. He's dominating the fight. He drops him. He's, you know, putting it on him. Dustin survives. And at the end of the round, after he's taken everything you've gotten, and then he comes out and drops you, and you could basically say he was saved by the bell. I mean, I know the Gilly wasn't close, but I mean, he was on top of Max, I believe, mounted in that fight at the end when the bell rang. Yeah. So you could say he was saved by the bell. You could say.
I gave round 2 to Dustin as well for the same reason, because I guess I don't know if there's a thing written into the scoring criteria about that, but I just felt like if you're fucking them up at the end of the round, then in my eyes you're winning the round. I mean, I know that's probably not how it's meant to be, but it and to me also it felt like Dustin was closer to a finish than Max was in that round. So I gave him the second as well.
Yeah, I gave him the second, and I want to say I gave him the 5th. And so, but I had it close, but it could have been 2-2 going into the 5th. It could have been 3-1 going into the 5th. Yeah. And so this is why I've had this argument with John. I know John, he actually is on my side, is that I would like to see a half-point scoring system, because a lot of these fights, when you get into the upper echelon of fighters, they're so close. The margins are so close. And also, too, when you get boring fights, you don't want them to be favored. You don't want that person to win because they won the first 2 rounds and they can coast in the 3rd round. I want to see a close fight be able to catch up. Like, I can be able to get a draw out of this, or I have an opportunity to still catch him, knowing that the round's not out without having to try to put myself in jeopardy to get the finish. And so I've always been for the half-point scoring system. We'll see if it ends up ever coming around. Big John says it will not happen. But this is one of those classic cases where the rounds were so close, but no one really won by a big margin, and a half-point scoring system would have made this a lot closer of a fight.
Yeah, that's a good point there, Josh. I was going to say as well, for Dustin, it was kind of poetic, right? Like, coming back, almost winning it. It's such a Dustin Poirier fight to go out in his career. And if he would have gotten it done, that would have been obviously epic. But I think just the fact that this fight was so great, I don't think anyone really cares that much if it was a winner or a loss at the end of the day. I got to ask you, though, Oscar. So you asked Dana White.
Cared.
Dustin cared. He didn't even enjoy his package. Yeah. So I'm wrong. He definitely cared. Oscar, when you spoke to Dana White after the fights, I believe you were the one who asked him about what's next. And it sounded like, Max Holloway is actually in there with a chance to fight Ilia Topuria next. Like, I couldn't believe it. I thought it was still like at least one more fight away.
I feel like it probably still will be, because I don't know. It just Ilia does have a lot of options, and Max certainly is a compelling one of them. But I bet Ilia would rather some fresh matchups first, right, before he starts doing the rematches. He seems like that kind of guy who always wants to look forward and sort of get the next achievement. I do reckon if Islam gets that belt, I could see them shoehorning that super fight in right away, just to while they have it. You know, they've kind of been missing out on some of these bigger fights recently, like with Tom and John and stuff that we'll get to later. But so I could see that. But yeah, I think Max is in with a great shot. I thought Max was going to have to like do his thing like he did with Volkanovski, where he had to fight like 5 times to get back to the title against Ilia. But yeah, he's right back in there. Max has figured out that as long as you get people talking about the fight and there's like moments in it, you'll skip a key. You'll jump right ahead. As long as you basically, if you're cool, people forgive your ranking. They don't give a shit. Just if you're cool, fight for the belt.
Yeah, this is where it's beneficial to have a personality that people love. Yeah. You know, because like when it's someone like a John Jones or a Josh Koscheck or someone that people hate, right? Like they didn't love watch. Like John Jones never been a big draw, right? 800,000, I think, is what his biggest pay-per-view was. He's never broke 1 million. So in that fact,
Josh coming at it with the facts, huh?
It's true. Well, DC was talking about it too, just I think a day or two ago, and
DC
John
was talking about killing him in his house as well.
DC got a little wild side to him, dude, man. Yeah. But look, with guys like Max, he's likable, and that's the biggest thing. Is I can take somebody that's marketable and likable by all the fans. We all love watching him fight. His style and the way he fights, the way he talks, the way he is with his family, the way he is with his kid, like all of those things are things that fans are now gravitating towards. Whereas before, we wanted to see the toughest guy. We didn't care about anything else. Now, because the sport has grown so much, we're learning the backstory on these fighters. We're learning about their family lives. We're learning about their home life. We're learning about how they grew up. We're learning. We're finally getting to attach ourselves to them, you know. And someone like a Max Holloway from Hawaii, from the Maui area, like it just being from Hawaii is huge. Being somebody who comes from, you know, a little island and having the success he's had, I mean, it's huge. BJ Penn being that guy too. They support their own. And Max is one of those guys that's extremely likable and lovable, and just also brings the style that people love to watch fight.
That's a good point. Also, as well, like it's just MMA fans, possibly more than any other sport, just care if you're authentic. Whether you're a dickhead but authentic about it, they'll love you. Fuck, even after Bryce Mitchell said his crazy shit, he got cheered at the next one because he was himself, you know. And I think Max is just like, even just the gesture of "it's not my time, Dustin, speak," like stuff like that is just so authentically him. I think MMA fans really like connect with like someone who's being themselves. So what John always got shit on because no one ever believed the thing he said.
Yeah, and he's got some new tweets out actually as well, so we'll have to react to them in a sec. But before we do, what's next for Max Holloway? I love, like, just going through the comment section. I ran a poll here. We got people saying Max versus Hooker, BMF defense number 2. That's a really fun fight. Like Dan Hooker, BMF, that's really, really cool. But the main fight that people actually want to see is Charles Oliveira. This is the one that seems to be winning all the polls right now. They want to see Charles Oliveira and Max. They want to see the rematch. What do you guys think should be next? And obviously, we got some other guys in the division that could potentially fight for this belt, this BMF belt too. But I don't know. Josh, who do you want to see Max fight?
I think had he finished Dustin, I think he probably could have jumped the line and got to a title shot. But since he didn't finish Dustin, I think he's going to have to fight one more fight. And I don't think any other fighter really would bring the action as much as the Dan Hooker fight. The BMF title, I don't think anyone else deserves to fight for the BMF title outside of Dan Hooker. I got a lot of respect for a lot of those fighters, you know, but none of them have done anywhere near that BMF title type fighter than Dan Hooker. He's that guy. And so I think if you're going to put him up against somebody, and it's a very winnable fight for him. The Charles Oliveira fight's a winnable fight for him as well, but it's also a lot tougher of a fight because it's a different type of game plan. He's going to have to avoid the takedowns. He's going to have to avoid, you know, the kicks and the knees and all those things. It's a lot more universal, well-rounded fight he's going to have to fight against Charles Oliveira. I'm not saying he can't beat him. I'm not saying that. I'm just simply saying from the fans' perspective, on a selfish, I want to see a fight, I want to see Dan Hooker and Max Holloway.
Yeah.
Plus, you got Sarukian and Justin Gaethje kind of clogging up the bottleneck there. So you have those two guys at the top going, hey, who's going to get it first? Sarukian really shit the bed when he didn't make weight. Like he bottlenecked this whole thing up. That's the truth. He should have got that shot, and then he would have fought Islam. Islam would have went up after that fight, and then it would have been vacant for everyone to fight their fight, and then Sarukian would have probably been either out of the picture because Islam would have went up, and then you would have just had Charles, or you would have had whoever fighting for the title. But I feel like the fight for Max is going to be the Dan Hooker fight while the bottleneck figures itself out between Justin Gaethje and Arman Sarukian.
Yeah, for me, I think the one thing I want to be avoided is, let's say Max and Ilya do fight, and it's going to be like, oh, BMF but versus champion. Yeah. But then if like whoever wins that it's the BMF is then the lightweight title. It's just the same thing. So they're going to have to figure out how often these guys are going to defend the BMF belt before they just move it away, right? I do think, however, that belt has Dan's name on it, or at least a fight with it, and I'd love to see him fight for it. I think I saw that Max and Charles are both tied for second amount of wins in the UFC. So that could be a fun little storyline. Like they both had 23 wins in the UFC. That could be a fun one to like see them start going. But I don't know if fans really give a shit about who has second most wins. So for me, I think it's a fun fight. But if they're going somewhere else with Ilya and Max is prepared to keep defending the BMF belt, let's just do the Hooker fight.
Someone says, how do you have Charles fight for the BMF title coming off a loss?
Yeah.
Well, is Max even the BMF champion? Didn't Ilya be? I don't know. Anyway, I guess that title wasn't on the line, but Ilya's like, I'm already the BMF champion, mate. I knocked you out just a few months ago. Like,
that's where it gets confusing, though, right? Like the BMF thing it's meant to be this undisclosed, undescribable thing, but like, it's basically who's going to point at the ground and agree to do that with Max. Like, it's a very short list. Dan will fucking swing with you.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about that, So, but it's just when you let these guys defend it a few times, I think then it gets too wrapped up. It's almost better if they could fight for it one-off and then they don't even keep it. It's just like a one-off fight they do every sort. I mean, if you're going to do it, fuck it. There's no rules anyway. Dustin weighed 156 for a title fight, So if it's all just made up, you should just have them like anyone fight for it at any time, But yeah, I want to see Max versus Dan anyway.
Yeah, you can't bring the BMF. We talked about this on the last time I was on. Is that you can't have the BMF title fight for the title because then it'll just stay with the champ the whole time, and that voids what it's for. And, they brought it in because they were lacking champions at the time that were defending their titles, and so now it's a good supplement to like as if it's an interim title without an interim title, and calling it the BMF, it gives it that notoriety of like, these are the baddest dudes that will point to the ground and stand and bang. And there's only one or two guys, I think, in the whole sport that I can really think of that will do that. You've got Brandon Moreno, you've got Pantoja, but who's the champion right now? I put Brandon Moreno there, and then I put Dan Hooker. I mean, right off the top of my head, that's pretty much all I can think of. Those are the guys that I really like. That's the thing. We had this conversation last time. We are lacking in this sport the dogs. Dustin Poirier is leaving. Justin Gaethje's got one or two more fights left in him. Like, we're lacking these guys. Dan Hooker, the way he fights, will not be around very long. You know what I mean? Like, his style is not a style that it allows for him to fight for a very long period of time. There's a lot of guys that I think those guys they're falling by the side, and it's sad because they're the ones that bring the action. Now I know these younger guys. We saw it with Michael Johnson. He's a dog. He will scrap. He will bang. He goes out on his shield. His Justin Gaethje fight, one of the best in history. But look at the young buck he just fought.
Knocked out Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, but like my point is though, is that with like Zellhuber, right? You're down 2 rounds. No sense of urgency. No, like, hey, I got to get it. I got to knock you out to win this fight. I got to submit you. It was like literally out there just still playing tag. And that generation of fighters is what we're getting these days. And nothing against Zellhuber. He may end up being a great fighter coming up. But having the dog in him is not what he has, not that I've seen. And MJ got the win because of it.
Yeah. Zellhuber really shat the bed on that one, man. He's got to go back and have a look at that. But Joshua Van as well, shout out Lazy Bet, another great fighter. They could do it. But yeah, Dan Hooker, he's coming off a streak here. And, Charles Oliveira, he got put out really, really bad. And that part of me, that's why I want to see Hooker in there. He's coming off a streak. I want to see what could happen. I think it would be a great fight. Just quickly, Oscar and Josh, before we move off this version of Max Holloway that we saw against Dustin Poirier at 155, Oscar, if you can go first. does it look much different against Ilia Topuria? Let's say he implements the kicks a bit more in this one. He does look a bit more, he looks stronger in this one. Like, does it make you want to see this fight down the track?
I mean, I thought Max was doing great the first time they fought. You know, I think people remember the ending, but Max was landing a jab on Ilia pretty bad. And like, that was an even fight. It was a very even fight until Ilia landed the power. I think it's a tricky one, right? Because Max does get hit. And it seems to be that if Ilia hits you, that's kind of the end of the fight. But I feel like Max has done enough in this sport and has been counted out and come back enough times that he warrants another opportunity to prove. And because Max also evolves. Max evolves like with every fight, even now. He's been doing it for so long. He still changes his style. Like you said, you add the kicks. He does the spinning kick now way more than he ever used to. So I think you have to give him an opportunity to change it and to give it a go against Ilia. It's just he has to. It's like that old Deontay Wilder thing. Like he has to be pretty perfect for the whole fight to get away with it. You know?
Yeah, I would want, if I'm Ilia, I would want to probably get that fight as well. The reason being is because a lot of people were saying, like for me, I thought, well, he just won. He looked great against Justin Gaethje at 55, and the UFC offered him the title shot. He came back down, cut the weight, and it affected his chin. The knockout happened in what, round 4, I believe.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4. So like that's ideal about when fighters that have cut a lot of weight start to lose their mojo. They start feeling a little chinny. They start looking a little tired. And Max took some big shots towards the end of that round, and that's what led to him getting finished. I really believe that 155, it's a different fight. I'm not saying that Max is going to win, because when you have Ilia Topuria's power, a lot can be said about what he can do to you. If he touches you once or twice, it's over. It could be over. So Max showing that he's got the movement. He had the speed last night. All of those things. I think it's definitely a different fight. I don't know if it ends up being a different result, but I think it ends up being a different fight.
I never know with Max as well, because sometimes I'll watch his interviews and he's like slurring his speech a little and he looks totally just effed up. And I'm like, man, this guy's been in the fight game for so long. Then he shows up like last night looking amazing, like he's in his prime. And you're like, hey, this guy's back. It's like, you just don't know. But then you look at the guy's been in the UFC since 2012, just like nonstop bangers and stuff like that. So eventually he has to catch up to you. But look, he's proven to everybody that he deserves to be in the main spot in lightweight. So
have you never heard like Hawaiians speak though?
Yeah,
I don't know. Is that a thing?
Do they slur
sometimes? Is that real?
Yeah,
That's right?
they talk.
Got accent.
I can sense.
Yeah, they're showing some of those interview clips of him, and I'm like, what is he saying? I have no idea what he's saying right now. Is this concerning? I don't know. Anyway, hey, just quickly, another concerning person who picked up a win over this past weekend is Paulo Costa. He was shaking at the press conference like he was trying to rub one out while people were asking him a question. But regardless of that, he said he was just excited. He was ready to go. This is a guy that's kind of become more of a social media guy recently than a fighter. Like he kind of took a bit of a break from fighting. It's been almost over a year, or it has been over a year since he last fought. He wanted to bring back the Paulo Costa that fought Yoel Romero. Me and Benil were watching this one live, and, you know, Benil felt like he looked even better than the Yoel Romero version of Paulo Costa. Like, Oscar, what did you think cage side as you were watching Paulo Costa? Did you think he brought that back?
I thought he didn't bring it back, but he did bring a new version of him that's been significantly better than, like, he's had moments, right, against Whitaker, big kick, against can't really remember the Strickland fight, which I think is a comment on his performance in that fight. Like, he's just been really underwhelming and seems to have been a bit gun shy. He admitted so himself. So in this one, I thought it was a nice combination of his old aggression, but with composure, right? Every time he heard him, he wouldn't go fucking spaz like he used to do on like Johnny Hendricks and people like that. So I thought it was actually a good showing for him in a better way. I mean, it is remarkable, the guy who fought Yoel Romero in that fight, how gone that guy has been for like the last 5 fights. Like, there's not recognizable at all. And I asked him at the presser, did that Israel loss kind of fuck you up? And he said, no, it wasn't that one, but it was the 2 after that really like made me lose my confidence. But yeah, he much improved, I thought.
Yeah, I think what people need to understand, look, you work so hard to get to that title shot. And then when you don't get it, it just all of a sudden it's like, okay, like you're starting over. You feel like you're starting over when in reality, you're not. You're one fight away from getting back to another title shot. It just seems like it's going to be forever because it's another year and a half, maybe even 2 before they give you another shot, depending on what your performance was. His performance against Izzy was trash.
Yeah.
And so the UFC was not happy. And then talking about I drank too much wine the night before, that made it even worse. So all those things add up. The UFC's like, okay, well, now you got to get you another fight. And then you end up dropping, I think, 2 more after that, right? Or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Like that, it's just not a good look. Then you lose motivation. Like, oh man, I had my chance. I ran through it. It didn't work out. And then that opens up to him not wanting to train as much, him not being as active, and then fans forget about him. The UFC probably somewhat forgets about him. Like, hey, you plan on fighting anytime soon? Like, that's how it goes. The matchmakers call and go, hey, are you up? You know what? I gotta get in camp. I'm like 225 right now. You know, those type of conversations happen all the time. I've had many of conversations with Joe Silva, you know, back in the day. It's like, hey, these guys here say they don't want to fight right now. This is why you're not fighting a top 10 guy, because these guys are here. See these guys in red? These 2 are hurt. This one's getting married, and these other ones don't want to fight. And so I'm just like, what do you mean they don't want to fight? Nope, they don't want to fight.
He would just show you guys that didn't want to fight.
Yeah, he had he's like
Joe Silva was like a shit talker. Yeah, he just loved to steer the shit.
He had it in his phone. He pulled up like basically the top 25 lightweights or whatever it is, top 25 lightweights. I'm like, hey, these are the guys in the top 25 or we have listed on our roster. These guys right here don't want to fight. All the ones in red are not available. Literally, it was like almost, I'd say almost probably half the list, maybe even more than half the list was red. None of these guys can fight.
He'd be a matchmaker, right?
Yeah, he's like, Josh, you're in the top 3 right now. He's like, none of these guys above you. Sure, all the guys above you want to fight you, but the guys around you don't want to fight you. And I was like, okay, well, then where are we at? This one's hurt. This one's this one's already matched up. So there's a lot of red tape they've got to get through. For him, when you don't want to fight with Paulo Costa, when you're not being as active as you should. Why also as a promoter do I want to put you in and then literally like you don't fight for another year? I'm like wasting the marketing dollars on you when you're not being active. It's the fighters like you're seeing with Kevin Holland, even though he didn't have a great performance last night, but he's active. People never forget about him because he fights another 8 weeks later. Like I love watching Kevin Holland fight because I know he's going to come in, he's going to give it his all. And guys, Cowboy Cerrone was a huge fan favorite because of that. Joe Lavon was the same way. Like
Hamzat Chimaev got to the spot that he's at. Yeah.
Exactly, because they fought so much during COVID. They fought so much during their time. People love watching them fight because they just pick up fights all the time. I'm down. I'll do it. Sure. Call me. I'm in. 2 weeks notice, 10 days notice. Okay, 4 weeks. Didn't matter. I'm ready to fight. And that's what fans, I think, really care about. And the less we see you, the less we care about you, which means we're not going to buy the pay-per-view or we're not going to watch. Paulo Costa's got something. He's got a look. He's explosive. He's got power. His kicks are phenomenal. All of those things. His takedown defense has gotten better. He's the marketing. He's like, if I'm someone that can market someone, that's the guy that I'm picking. If I have a lineup of guys outside of Luke Rockhold and him, those 2 knuckleheads are the guys that I would probably pick the most. Literally to just be like, hey, if I'm a promoter, those are the 2 guys I want to promote. And that guy that won, that's a model for last night. That kid's he's tall, long, lanky, and a good look to him. If I'm a promoter, I'm trying to promote guys that look like that. So when you're not active, it just kills me. It drives me nuts as a promoter.
Yeah, it's funny because Paulo got caught in a shitty contract. He tried to battle out of it. Now he's re-signed, but you can tell he's probably got more money coming in outside of the sport than when he fights. And that probably takes you out of the sport too. I mean, Josh, you could probably go into a whole thing with that, but let's just quickly talk about what's next with Paulo. The kicks look great. He picked up this win. He wants to go sit cage side Oscar at UFC 319. Does he know there's a thing called the UFC rankings? And are we at a point where a guy that's ranked, what is he, like number 12, can just fly over and try to get himself penciled into this title shot when we've got Imavov and Kaya Bahayo fighting? We've got RDR and Robert Whittaker fighting this weekend. We've got all sorts of crap happening. Or is this guy just trying to make shit stick to the wall right now? Because, I mean, Izzy did the same thing. Or did he did the same thing with Izzy, and they had that moment.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that he really doesn't like Hamzat. I believe it. It's quite obvious when he says
he was messaging his missus.
Yeah.
DMs.
And they had that running at the PI before and shit like that. So I believe that. And I think, no, he doesn't deserve the fight and he probably won't get it. But if he went to Chicago and, had a fight with Hamzat in a hotel, then the UFC would book it like that. So if that's what he's got to do, go up there and start swinging. But I don't know. I don't think if Hamzat lost, then 100% they'll put that fight. But I mean, fair play to Paulo, because it's not exactly stylistically, you wouldn't be like, oh yeah, Paulo's got that one in the fucking bag. So it's kind of fair play to him. I admire that he's chasing that guy that people are trying to avoid and stuff. So we'll see. But if Hamzat's a champion, I don't see it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Like, if Hamzat ends up winning, there's no way that he gets this title shot. But if he ends up losing, it's another way to throw Hamzat right back into the mix if he gets a win over Paulo Costa, and it's a fight that I can market because it's like, look, you're obviously Paulo Costa's lower in the rankings, but if this is a fight you should win, Chimaev, to get you back up to a title shot as fast as possible. Fight Paulo Costa, who's a dog, who's somebody that will throw down. It depends on which one shows up. The one that drinks wine or the one that doesn't. But that one that does, the one that doesn't drink wine the night before, he's a fighter, man. He's a fighter. So him and Chimaev would be a very fun fight. I could see if Chimaev loses, I could see them potentially putting that fight together. Because if you look at the rest of them, right? He's already fought Robert Whittaker. He's already fought Izzy. He's already fought, he's fought these guys.
Yeah.
So let's, outside of Imavov and who else?
Kyle
and Kyle Ball, which those are both
RDR, maybe that could be a good fight. I wonder though, Josh, like someone brought it up, like him versus Izzy in a rematch. Like, let's say Izzy doesn't get Strickland, and Izzy obviously disposed of him pretty quickly in that first fight, but that's probably not a terrible fight for Izzy to come back to, like a rematch of Paulo Costa. And for Paulo Costa, like Izzy maybe have slowed down just a little bit. Could that be a fight that they could make maybe if Strickland falls through for Izzy?
Who has more time left on in their career? I know Izzy's probably a little bit more marketable in terms of he's been the champion, he's done what he's done, he's got a whole country behind him, that kind of thing. But if I'm looking at who's going to probably fight longer, I mean, Izzy's made so much money, he's probably going to retire in a fight or two, especially if he gets knocked out again. Whereas Paulo Costa's probably got another 4 years. Like, I'm going to go with the guy who's going to bring in more revenue. But he's got to be active. And that goes back to, as a promoter, which guy's going to fight the most? Which one's going to make me the most money? Which one can I put in front of somebody that's going to make an action-to-pack fight? Right now, it's Paulo Costa.
Okay. Let's talk about something else that happened at the press conference. Dana White was asked about John Jones and if he was going to be a part of the White House card. This is obviously from the Mac Live Instagram channel. This is what he had to say.
John Jones says he wants to be on there too, and he says he would fight whoever the champion is at that time. But would you be okay with him coming back and potentially winning that belt again? And you might have to go through.
Well, it's not even about him winning the belt. I mean, I felt about him. I can't risk putting him in big positions in a big spot and have something go wrong.
So Dana White finally sort of saying that in front of the media. John Jones actually had something to say himself. He tweeted out that he was disappointed about last night's press conference, but he's going to stay sharp and he's going to stay in the testing pool. Then he also tweeted not long ago as well that when somebody asked him about the whole situation, he said that's not actually what he said. He said he can't afford for anything to go wrong, which is understandable. It's hard to commit to any athletes. Literally still a year out. Let's not twist words. My entire career has been a main event. Oscar Willis, is this the first sort of time we're seeing Dana White being like, I love John Jones, but I'm not buying into this John Jones situation for this White House card? Like, were you surprised he was so clear about the fact that this guy was not the guy for this card?
I was, but then the day before he said he was going to do John and Connor on the same thing. So it's he does switch around. I just take this to be, as usual, another step in the public negotiations John Jones and the UFC do, right? They always do this. They always try and suggest to the other one that they don't need them. Like for Dana to be like, oh, we're not going to put him in a high-profile thing. Madison Square Garden's pretty high-profile, and you did that twice, and one of them that fell through anyway. So, yeah, I kind of think this is maybe their way of being like, you can do it, but don't fucking ask for more money than you're going to get, Or maybe it's a little bit of a, hey, fuck you for saying you'd fight Tom and then not fighting him. I've kind of the White House card is what it is. It is a year away, but I suspect Donald Trump's going to have a bit of a say in who's on his card, right? And I think he likes John Jones. So I believe if it all works out, and John was out of the pool for 2 weeks too. Let's not forget that. See what happens in those 2 weeks. But I think
cocaine's in and out of your system in a couple of days.
Yeah, it's fine. It's right out of there, brother. But I think I suspect John is probably still favorite to get on that card, but I do think it's an interesting tonal shift from Dana, and I wonder if maybe there was a phone call that happened that day for him to change tone completely within a day. But yeah, I think it's public negotiations again. I just think fans are a little over it by this point.
I like that
Wow.
Dana's at least saying, hey, you know what? We're going to put him in that position. I feel like that's the kind of negotiations he should have taken with the Tom Aspinall fight. I feel like he was too like, John Jones is the greatest, and he thought the fight was going to come together, keep John happy.
John
Now
had the
he's
belt.
kind of like,
John had the belt when that was going on. So I don't think he wanted to be like, it seemed to me that whole thing was like, come on, John, you're the champion, fight Tom. And then it didn't pan out. So maybe now they're just going to be like, well, a bit more hardball. But
Josh, is John Jones coming back for this White House card if you had to put money on it?
Look, obviously we're a year away. Like Dana said, there's so many things that are going to happen between now and then. If Tom's not champion, I don't think so. Reason being because there was they already spent all that money building that up. But on top of that, it's the 4th of July. That's why they're doing it. What better way of having John Jones, an American, fight the guy from the UK? Are you kidding me?
do we get the country back if he wins? If he wins,
is the country on the line? That was like the ultimate
no,
BMF
because
belt.
I think 3/4 of people watching the fight want John to lose. So we're not getting it back. We're actually on your side, cheering that maybe John loses to Tom.
Yeah.
We're trying to trade one and get the other. Like we want
Tom,
Tom.
do you think Tom's just like, oh my God, this guy again? Like, you know, Tom must just be so over. I know he's over.
He's done. He's done, man. Like, and that's the thing. I think Tom's probably at home going like, why? Why would it? Look, I'm the undisputed champion now. You vacated the title. I'm done. I don't need to cater to everything you do. I'm the guy now. They need to call me to see if I want to do the fight. And let's just see what happens with all the legal issues too. There's a whole year between now and then. What happens with his legal issues? Are they going to put Conor on the card if they're not? And then if they are you going to be the main event, co-main event? This is my honest opinion. I don't think that John's going to be on the card. And the biggest reason is I think that Tom is going to end up winning a fight and maybe even 2 more between now and the time they do that next 4th of July. And I think that we're going to be removed from this for a whole year. Like John's going to try to keep himself relevant in social media. It's just not going to be enough. And why would I put you on a card with all the new recent background stuff that's all going to come up? Like, hey, like all of these things. But then on top of that, you never did more than 1 million pay-per-view buys. I need to be, this card needs to have people on here that are some of the biggest draws, you know? And I think if you're going to have, Conor's probably going to be on it, but I wonder, is Conor going to be the headline? You know, is that where you're at on this? Like, and if outside of that, where's Tom going to be? Because heavyweight, obviously from the UK, you probably want to have him on there fighting an American, you know, and then who else is in there? Who else? You have Ilya Poirier in there. Is it US versus, you know, the European fighters? It's
hard because every time you break that down, you're like, the American fighter would likely lose, and you're like, is this what we want on the White House? Like, I don't mind. I'm in Australia. Like, we find that stuff funny here, and Oscar as well, right? Like, that's hilarious. But for this administration, like, you got to think they're like, all right, we only want Kayla Harrison. She hasn't been arrested in the last few months. We only want, you know what I mean? Like, you think like it's going to be more of a boring card, but I feel what you're putting down. Like, that's why I think as much as I think Max Holloway would really beat Conor at this point, I think a Max Holloway BMF fight with Conor could be kind of cool because these guys have history, and Max is an American guy, right? Like Hawaii. So I don't know, like maybe that's something they could do. I like the Nate Diaz fight too. Oscar, Josh is working towards a boxing match with Nate Diaz as we speak, but that's going to be before that fight happens. But yeah, man, like that's a cool fight, right? Like number 3, Nate's American, although like again, I don't know.
No, he's American. Nate's like
I know, but you know, like he'll be like it might not be what the White House is looking for, but maybe
he's literally like he is what America is. Like really Stockton. He's from Stockton, California. Like Nate Diaz is what the US is. I mean, like just in the average. Yeah.
It is funny that a lot of the super duper American guys are like not ones you'd want to have in front of the world media press conference. Like imagine Sean Strickland, Colby Covington, Nate, like all up there on the same thing. Like, and there's like just general public media. That'd be so great.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like no shade on, you know, Donald Trump. I'm not a part of the politics there, obviously, but he's deporting a lot of people at the moment, and you got Nate Diaz going up there, being like on his card. You know what I mean? I don't imagine Nate Diaz would be too happy getting up there, right, Josh? I don't know. Anyway, it might be too much of a thing.
I think you're underestimating Nate Diaz.
Yeah, I think you're underestimating.
Okay. See, I don't know anything about politics. I don't want to piss anyone off. Just quickly, guys, I want to talk about UFC 319 TBA co-main event. super fucking strange fight between Jared Cannonier and MVP. Like, that's a weird fight on that main card. Are we thinking it's going to be Mosa and Pico on that TB? Like, Oscar, what are you hearing from your end? Could that actually happen?
It certainly seems to be. I think if it's not, it depends. I think Mosa got sick. I don't think he got injured. I think he got sick, and the idea was that he'd just get pushed back by a couple of weeks, which then would make that like a natural fit. But if he's not better, I could see them maybe trying to find someone else for Pico just to get that debut going.
Who do you have?
What do you have, Josh? You got some inside info for us, brother?
I mean, I know that Bellator and the PFL had put some marketing into promoting the Pico and Patricio fight.
Yeah.
And they've already kind of marketed that fight. There was that was actually a pretty big fight for them. They just lost both their guys, though. They were like, hey, both you guys are costing us too much money. They're expensive, both fighters. And when they were doing those cuts, they said, hey, we'll let you guys both go. Now the opportunity is for them to present itself. Patricio brought it up. He does have a fight. He keeps getting pushed back. Let's go ahead and have this fight in Chicago, and have us fight there. I mean, my only concern, and not my only concern, what it is, even though Patricio got his first win, good. I'm happy for him. He's one of my favorite fighters. I've been able to call a lot of his fights. I've done a lot of personal interviews with him. I had him on the podcast. All of those things.
Mm-hmm.
He just hasn't had a great performance yet in the UFC. So it's hard for me to put you against Aaron Pico, who's a rising up and coming star and young still that I can build on in a co-main event position. So as far as Evolov, I think that's going to end up being the fight anyways.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
They also kind of want Aaron to beat Evolov for them. They kind of like
they don't want Mosa getting the title shot. So even if Patricio Pitbull wins, they probably think we could build up a Pitbull Volkanovski fight with Pitbull saying the stuff that he's saying off a Pico win. They could probably build that up easy in their minds, easier than Mosa. It's an interesting situation. Hey, I just want to see. It's just hilarious that the pay-per-view is next, and it's like TBA versus TBA. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that was funny.
Such a UFC thing to happen. Anyway, just quickly, a couple more things, and I'll let you guys go. First off, what did you make of this little footage here from the Mac Live? A face-off between Usyk and Jake Paul, of all people. I mean, this guy is out of control, Jake Paul. Obviously, he's kind of dominating the boxing world. I like what he did with a Netflix fight a couple of weeks ago, showcasing the ladies. But this guy keeps talking about AJ. Now he's doing face-offs with Usyk. Oscar, what is this guy doing? Does he have a death wish?
So he was flown over there by Daniel Dubois' promoter, Queensbury, which makes me suspicious that they actually were looking for a Dubois win and then the Jake Paul face-off. That's because and then I found it very, very funny that he's allegedly, like, apparently, according to all the parties involved, genuinely in for this Joshua fight, and he's going to box him. But then when he faces off with Usyk, he's like, I want to do an MMA fight with Usyk. It's like, yeah, because you get your fucking shit kicked in. So I can admire that at least he understands that level. It sounds like this Joshua thing might actually happen because they want to do a tune-up fight before a Joshua Fury fight, which again is just like never going to happen probably. But yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Canelo Crawford is the biggest fight in boxing until they book Jake Paul Joshua, bro. If they book Jake Paul Joshua, how many people I would tune in just to watch Jake Paul get his head taken off? Like, I think that's like, people are hoping for a public execution. So I suspect if he's really actually going to fight heavyweight boxers, he was there to try and like set up a fight with Dubois. But then they just kind of took advantage at the moment.
Did you see Tyson Fury, what he said?
Yeah, he predicted. He's just talking shit, this guy, Tyson.
Fury's always like that. Fury, I've watched in person. I interviewed Fury for 1 minute, and then he went to the next person in line, and the lady beside me just asked him every question I asked, and he deliberately, to entertain himself, gave the 180 of the answer he gave me. So like he just lies in every interview to entertain himself. So
that's a total gypsy thing to do.
Yeah.
Josh, can you imagine a world where Jake Paul beats AJ? That would be fucking crazy.
I mean, at that point, just probably call the sport off.
Do we just cancel sports for the rest of the year?
I mean, look, are they going to have a TV deal done with Netflix, or is it going to be on DAZN? What is it going to be on?
I think it would be on DAZN because Joshua is exclusively signed to DAZN, and Turkey, who would obviously be paying for all of it, owns a bit of DAZN. So that's like the natural fit for that. I just think we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but like if they did that and Joshua didn't fucking like Ngannou him, like just destroy him right away, everyone's going to think it's rigged anyway. Yeah. You know, like if Jake's in there for 4 or 5 rounds or whatever, it's just the whole Jake Paul thing. Like I'm impressed with what he's created and stuff. So I would never take that away from him. But it's sort of, it feels like we've reached the end of the road, and he's trying to find the sign-off fight, right? He's trying to find the one. He gets paid a load of money, probably loses, but it's against a big guy, and he like can't get one. Like the Canelo thing fell through. You know, Fury's retired. It just feels like it's kind of now or never. Otherwise, like how often can we see you beating these guys that are like whatever?
Well, because what it is no promoter wants to pay that amount of money for a cash grab on somebody that is going to be irrelevant in a year or two. That's one. Two is no real fighter who's dedicated their life to doing this wants to fight this guy. It's like, why? You're literally a YouTube guy. Like, it's no different than a lot of these other fighters a lot of guys don't want to fight. Like Dylan Dennis always talking shit on social media, right? Like literally talking shit about Dustin last night, talking shit about Max, talking shit about Kevin Holland. And I was like, and I finally got on. I was like, hey, pussy, I'll fucking fight you right now. Like, it got to that point.
Dude, I'd love that fight. You and Dennis, that'd be fun. Yeah, do that.
I would dog walk his ass and no fucking problem. Like it's embarrassing. And he just was calling other people embarrassing. I'm thinking to myself, bro, it was embarrassing trying to watch you box. It was so bad. Anyways, not to get sidetracked, but a lot of fighters do not want to take a chance because you can still get clipped at any moment, at any time. Someone throws a haymaker and you never know. There is a style to it, but like Anthony Joshua has a lot to lose if he fights Jake Paul and he ends up getting clipped, even if he gets in trouble, if he gets rocked at all. Look at what happened when Tyson Fury fought Francis Ngannou.
Yeah.
He got sat. The rest of the fight, everyone kind of figured that, Francis lost the rest of the fight. There were some rounds he won, but he sat down Tyson Fury, and all of a sudden it was like, he's ready. He was ranked number 4 after that, right? Something along those lines.
Yeah.
He was ranked number 4. One boxing match, ranked number 4. As a fighter or former fighter or someone who loves boxing, that is a fighter. You're afraid that that's going to happen to you. You're going to afraid. And that's what the scare is, I think. So a lot of top fighters will not take it anyways. And a promoter doesn't want to touch it either because they have to pay all that money.
Well, I'm hearing Misfits Boxing, Josh Thomson versus Dylan Dennis.
They just fucking announced Dennis is fighting, apparently.
Oh, what?
Oh, really?
Just an hour ago.
Who's he fighting?
I couldn't tell you the geezer.
What about Tony Ferguson fighting some Salt Papi guy?
No, dude, he's good though.
Yeah, that's what I spoke to Luke Rockhold.
I think Tony's going to lose that fight. By the way,
a few days ago, he's like, "Oh, I think he might beat Tony," which will be one of the saddest things for all of us as fans. Hey, just quickly, final thing. While Oscar looks that Dylan Dennis fight up, Dakota. By the way, congratulations.
It's Warren Spencer.
Who?
Warren Spencer.
It could have been Josh Thomson
in an MMA fight for Misfits. Apparently, this is the
MMA. It's an MMA fight.
MMA fight for Misfits. Yeah.
We gotta
until he's actually in that ring. I won't fucking believe it.
I think
the only reason why he fought Logan Paul is because he got slapped with that lawsuit of saying like, "Hey, it's in the contract. If you don't show up, you owe me $200,000 or $150,000, whatever it was. You've got to pay me." And that's the only reason why he showed up. He signed that deal. Thought he was going to get ahead of himself. Thought he'd get a lawyer to get him out of it. Never happened. And that's why he's stuck right now.
Josh, it's you and Dylan Dennis and Dan Hooker's backyard in New Zealand. Me and Oscar can pull some strings and make that happen. So let's just
Dylan Dennis can try pulling guard. That guy.
I actually don't know if Dylan would pass Dan's approval. To be honest, I think Dan would be like, "Yeah, go on." I think he would say no.
Last one from me, fellas, and I'll let you go. PFL over the weekend had a big card. Unfortunately, again, the timing wasn't the greatest. People around the world didn't quite know how they could watch it, where they could check it out. But the card had some good fights. Josh, you were breaking down the main event to us before we got started and talking about how great the main event was. But then we kind of got talking about Dakota Ditcheva, right? She re-signed with the promotion. She's someone that could have been a real future bright star for the UFC in the division. Like, they could really get behind her. Are you guys surprised that the UFC didn't make more of a play to lock down Dakota Ditcheva and sort of build a whole thing behind her? And what do you think? How did the PFL keep her, I wonder?
They paid her a lot of money. Realistically, she's one of the only marketing tools that they have right now. She's good looking. She fights extremely well. Like she
gets big views. I've noticed when she does interviews.
There's a lot of reasons on why she gets big views. Okay, and one reason is because she's not difficult to look at.
Yeah.
But on top of that, though, she can freaking fight. and what people love is watching a female fighter who's got a mean streak in her. She is nasty. Elbows, knees, clinch, long range kicking, like long range boxing. She can put it together. People can't take her down because she's tall, long, lanky. She's got good takedown defense. All of those things. In the clinch, she's a dog. And that's not, I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all. She's a fighter. And I think that's what people fall in love with her. Now, how did they sign her? They paid her a lot of money. But there was there was some conversation back and forth before Merab was champion that the UFC was looking to trade Merab for Dakota. And that actually almost happened. So I would like to, just to be honest, I would like to see more trades happening between promotions. I really believe when that whole thing happened with Ben Askren, DJ, and it really kind of spruced up the sport a little bit. Yeah. And right now the sport needs it. The sport across the board needs it. So if there's fighters in the PFL, they could use some of those guys from the UFC, and the UFC could use some of the talent from PFL just to kind of spruce up their weight classes. Because as much as we want to say like, hey, the PFL fighters are not as good as the UFC fighters, the bottom line is when Michael Chandler came in, he brought an energy to the weight class all of a sudden, because the bantamweights and the featherweights were carrying the workload at the time. And then that spruced up the lightweight division again, because the lightweight division has always been a weight class that has brought energy. And it was kind of plateauing. We'd seen all the guys fight each other. That's kind of where we're at right now, right? Now, Ilya coming up is kind of giving it a shot in the arm, and Islam going up to 70 is going to give the 70s a shot in the arm. It's going to spruce up the MMA in the UFC right now. And I think doing things like that is very important if we're going to keep this sport growing and keep the fans interested. If they can start trading fighters, it's going to make things extremely, extremely exciting for the fans.
Merab getting the spruce moose. What do you think, Oscar? Would that have been a great trade that you wanted to see? Merab over there?
I think now we've seen what Merab has become. You'd probably say that would have been an error to get rid of him, right? Well, you would say that. But I think I agree with Josh. Everything, she's probably their most marketable star off the top of my head, to be honest. Yeah. And I'm glad they made the effort to keep her, because honestly, some people have been concerned about their future for a while now. Like, they're losing a lot of guys who are paid a lot. At least when they do moves like this, it shows there's intent and there's like, we're here to stay. We're not just fucking going away, And you can say what you want about PFL or maybe how some of their public faces perform on social media or whatever you want to do, but MMA needs other places to go. Like, you need places for guys to get older and go and still make money and stuff like that. So you can't have these places go away. Otherwise, it really would be the monopoly that, the UFC had been sued for. I have, on a personal level, disappointed not to see her go to the UFC, because there's obviously lots of fun matchups there. I think she could have become actually... No, never's going to be Ronda again, but right, she could have been like the second coming of Ronda in the same way Ilya is the second coming of Conor. Like, the difference in their star level is obviously there, but it's certainly a comparison to be made. But again, she said multi-year deal. I don't know how many years is multi-year, but she's also very young. She could cause a legacy like Kayla Harrison, right? You just make yourself into such a big star outside the promotion that they actually have to pay you when you come in. They can't just get you on a cheapy deal because you want to be in the UFC so bad.
Yeah, let me give you guys a little insight on something though too. Like Anthony Johnson,
a little insight for us, Josh. Let's go.
Anthony Johnson on this thing, right? Like, he left. Had that whole fallout of not making weight. Then he goes over to the World Series of Fighting. Never wants to fight for the title. Tells him, I don't want to fight for the title. He goes over there, establishes his weight class. He fought at heavyweight over there, and then he actually comes back down to the UFC at 205 and fights at light heavyweight. He left the UFC making like 80 and 80, okay, because he went through all that weight class drama. Comes back making almost $750,000 a fight.
Ooh,
huge deal. So what happens is, and I say this because, like, he was one of my best friends. We owned a company together. We owned a gi company together and stuff. We still do technically, but regardless, he is somebody that he left, had success, and then came back and made double the money, triple the money he would have made if he stayed. And so I continue to tell fighters this: as long as you're successful in another promotion, you become a champion, or you're just right there at number one all the time, you're going to get paid when you go to the UFC. Build up your name outside, take the fights that can build up your name, look impressive, and you're going to make money. Winning solves everything with the UFC. As long as you're winning, they will bring you over. They will pay you the money. You know, because as soon as you come in, you're going to get a hit on your social media. You're going to get a hit with fans. Everything's going to grow for you. Your sponsors will grow. Your social media will grow, which will build up more sponsors. You're going to make more money when all that happens. But you've got to build it up in another organization. With her, she's young. She still has time. Get as many of these fights in as you can. And then eventually you'll probably try to make the switch over. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, you gotta keep her happy too. Even though she signed that deal, they got to put her to work, and I think she'll expect stuff from the PFL as well. Let's see if they can keep her happy. But guys, that is it for the show today. There he is, Josh Thomson, Oscar Willis, off New Zealand, New Orleans, all over the town.
Going to rehab.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Thanks for joining us before you jumped in. Of course, check out the Mac Live. And Josh, you got the big reaction show with you and Big John McCarthy. It's taken a minute, but it's live now on the channel. People can check it out. It
should be live now, or it's coming live in the next probably 20, 30 minutes. Yeah, we had some, John's traveling the world right now, so we had some internet issues in the hotel for him last night. So we got it all sorted out.
Awesome. That's in the description below. Thank you so much, guys. Make sure to join be a member, an interview with RDR dropping shortly on the channel, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching. All right, fellas, that is